And howdy, howdy, howdy. Welcome to the show. My name is Diana Nguyen, and I am the host and creator of the Snort Cast. And thank you so much for joining the show every week. I've been so honored and proud to have such an amazing fan base who love this show. And please tell us where you are watching this show from. I want to know where my snorters are, and if you're watching on replay or live, please hashtag live or replay to me so that we know where this show is reaching over the shores. I would also like to acknowledge on the land that I sit on, the Wurundjeri people of the Kulin Nations, and pay my respects to the elders past and present. Sovereignty has never been ceded. It always was and always will be Aboriginal land. What is the SnortCast? The SnortCast is a show that celebrates comedy, joy, laughter, and I'm interviewing comedians and funny people all around the world who bring that joy. Especially in a pandemic that we're facing now, this show kind of came at the right time where I've got a lot of friends who are comedians who are out of work, and why not bring them onto a show like this to talk about their craft and how they use comedy in their storytelling. So please tell me where you're watching this show from. And also, if you do want to follow us, we are on YouTube, Instagram, and Facebook. Follow at the SnortCast. We would love to find out more about you and follow us on other news that we might be putting out on social media. And also thank you to my Patreon community for supporting this show. You are so amazing for believing in me, and I'm so excited to invite our 11th guest, a fellow snorter, she says she is. Her name is Steph Tisdell. She is one of the brightest stars to explode in the Australian comedy scene in recent years. You'll see this clip of her performing at the 2019 Melbourne International Comedy Festival Gala, and she blew it away the moment she walked out, and I can't wait to show her to you. She's been on TV. She's been on Just for Laughs Australia, on Comedy Channel, Hughesy on Channel 10. We Have a Problem, and on The Project. So here is Steph, and I hope you have a great laugh like I did too. Now, here we go.
Hello, Melbourne! Oh, how cool is this? Hello, everyone. My name is Steph. It is great to be here. I'm a very proud Indigenous woman, and thank you, all three people. I will just warn you before I go any further, I don't hate white people, okay? I had a white friend once. It was me dad. But I like to have fun, right? There is one thing that white people have given me that I love above anything else, and that is white guilt. It's mwah. Sprinkle it on your cornflakes, delicious. One of my favourite things to do, right? I love to go to like a really hipster cafe, right? And then I find like the biggest hipster I can find, right? Somebody who thinks they're real woke. And I'll stand behind him in line, and then I just wait. I'll wait for him to order a smashed avo. And then I go, what the fuck did you just call me? There's nothing better than that squirm. Oh, said avo, I said avo. Like, you want to fucking go, mate? Melbourne, believe it or not, I have a boyfriend. Stop it, I know. To be fair, he's half price, he's a ginger. But leave him. But I love to tease him. We haven't been together that long, right? So I love to tease him about what it'd be like to have kids together, right? But then I thought about that a little bit and I went, what the fuck would that even look like? I don't think the world's ready for it. You'd need a new name. It'd be the most iconic hybrid since the fucking Prius. An Aboriginal ginger? What the?
And please welcome Steph to the show.
Oh man, that was so weird to watch. I was sitting there real straight faced too, like, well, I could have fixed that bit up.
I'm glad we could help you feedback your show for next time.
Thank you. Oh.
Thank you so much for joining us. And look, everyone has said exactly the same thing. It's really weird to watch yourself do comedy and stand up.
Mm-hmm.
Can I ask you, like, who are you? Who are you?
You just introduced me. And I my name is Steph. I am I weirdly wanted to answer this in a way I've never really answered this before. I am the youngest of 4. I have 3 older brothers, and my parents, when I was growing up, they had a business, and now my mum runs an aid organization, and my dad is like a weird bushman. he just came around the other day, and it's so weird. I don't know what happened. He was like, oh, I bought these camp beds. I love sleeping on. He's gotten rid of all of his worldly possessions for a canvas camp bed, and now he's gonna just drive around.
What a life!
I know. But who I am as my persona, I guess, my public facing persona is I'm an Indigenous comedian, and I believe more than absolutely anything else in the world, that the one thing that you can give people that is more helpful than anything else is authenticity and vulnerability. So that's a big part of who I am. Wear my heart on my sleeve. Don't give a fuck. You know what I mean? Like, it's do with it what you want. I think if it's out there and it's genuine, you can never really hurt you. So,
bam, that's so power to that. And with that power, if you had to write a book about your life, a memoir, what would the title of the book be called?
Box Ticker. or something like that. Yeah, I think, or like Token or something. Because it's become such a huge part of my public identity, whether I wanted it to or not. And it's kind of funny. Like, you have to laugh, right? Like, I had this gig recently, a series of gigs actually, and I sort of was looking at the lineup and I went, I see what they've done here. It was all white men and then just me, and I went, they've got me as a twofer.
Yeah, they tick 2 boxes with
exactly. Yeah,
I know that. I know that feeling.
Well, you would, yeah. I mean, how do you find it?
I've decided. Look, I when you first started out as a newbie, you just accepted it, but then I realized that I had the power to change that. So that's why I started the SnortCast comedy lineup show. And Kevin's been on there. I've had some amazing, like, mid-career comedians. I'm not calling them emerging. Like, we're all mid-career, but we just haven't been given that extra power.
Yeah.
But I decided to change the narrative and say, if I can do it, you can do it. Because I think there was an excuse. There was an excuse that, no, who would want to go watch shows with 4 women and 4 men? And I just went, no, I've done it. You don't have an excuse anymore. So that's what I did.
I used to work a lot with do you know Shawnee Chilbra?
No.
Oh, Shawnee is he's like the godfather of Aboriginal comedy in Australia. He started years and years and years ago. He's actually got the most fascinating life story. I want to write a book about his life. He's danced for, like, he was a big part of Jukimala when they first started. Like, he has trained a lot of dancers up. He used to be a backup dancer for Janet Jackson. Like, just crazy life, right? He met the Dalai Lama. Anyway, he's brilliant, and he's a comedian, and just like he's so likable. He just rips the roof off any place. But he like, he's kind of the person that you aspire to be like, right? And when I first started, I was so excited to meet him. And his wife was actually kind of managing me for a bit. And I called her up in tears one day and I said, I'm sick of, like, how will I ever know if I'm good enough if I'm just getting gigs where I'm ticking boxes? And she said, you know what? Here's the way you got to look at it. And this legitimately changed my life, and I hope that it helps you. She said, what you need to remember is that tokenism is only tokenism until it just isn't anymore. And I was like, that's as simple as it is. Like, somebody has to be representing before more people represent, like, you just have to cop that this is how things are. But once you've set yourself up as more than just a token, it no longer applies. And I would say that you have done that. Like, I am a creep, and I was stalking you, and I'm just blown away by you. Like, I just think you're so, like, everybody needs to learn from you, because you are the type of person who sees the box and goes, well, it's maybe I can start from this way. And it's just like a lot of white fellas that I don't want to no offense, white fellas watching, but they kind of, it's like there's a traditional path to get there. If I'm unsuccessful in that traditional path, well, then I'll give up and be cranky about it forever. Whereas myself, people like you, people like the women who kind of trailblazed for us, like, just even white women, but women who trailblazed, it's because they saw the box and went, I'm going to enter this way because this is just as I'm just really blown away by you. I really am.
Well, thank you. Thank you very much, because it is tiring to be the token, and I guess I want, so thank you for all that. And I totally hear about the token box, because it's gotten to me where I am, like, being that token box. So I can't say that it's like the most horrible thing, but I guess I think I want progression in the next 10 years, but this token box becomes less of a box.
Yeah. Well, I think what people forget about things like that is that, like, because there's always people who are going to say, like, oh, you only got this gig because of X, Y, Z, and you go, do you not realize how disempowering that is? Like, why do you think that this is? You should be angry about that too. Do you know, like, as in, I don't want this to be the case. I'd love to be there on my merit, and I feel like I've proven myself to be there on my merit. But if you still see it that way, then you're part of the problem. Like, it's frustrating, but
Yeah, well, we've gotten right into the show because you've answered it already.
Sorry.
I apologize. It's beautiful. It's beautiful to go. And you talked about authenticity and vulnerability. We're here. We're in it now. I want to acknowledge our guest Snorters watching. Ahmed from Sydney. We've got India. We've got Melbourne. We've got the UAE watching. We've got New York. Good morning, New York. We've got Dubai. We've got Toronto. We've got Bangladesh. Thanks for joining us.
Everyone, this is so cool.
In the room. Thank you so much. Oh, and we've got Ohio. I'm so always surprised how early Americans wake up, because in bed I would be sleeping in. Thing. Can I ask you, Steph?
Yeah.
What's your first memory of comedy in your life?
Oh, honestly, I've got the funniest family. Like, there was no way that one of us wasn't gonna. That's honestly the funniest people in the world. I remember I don't know why this has come up as my first memory of comedy, because it really shouldn't be, but this is what's come up. I just remember this being a really big difference. Like, I don't know, I'll explain, but we used to go on, like, road trips a lot. I grew up in Mount Isa, and we used to go, like, out in the desert a lot, and we had gone to some roadhouse, and I got a pie, and it was the tomato sauce, the ones that you squeeze, and I couldn't squeeze it on, and I just, like, squeezed it right into my eyeball, and I would have been like 3. This is, like, one of the earliest memories that I have, and I just remember, instead of, like, crying on it, we all just absolutely cracked up laughing. Just, like, laughter is my first memory of comedy. We're really big laughers, and I guess beyond that, I'm trying to think of, like, the first time that I laughed so hard that I was, like, crying. And I remember, it's so dumb. This isn't even funny anymore. I remember this one time at school. I would have been in, like, grade 4, and because I've always been known for how much I laugh, and, like, if I laugh so hard, I'm crying, I'm snorting, I've gone silent, I'm on the floor, I'm rolling. Like, you can't stop me laughing, right? I just remember this time. It was lunchtime and I was desperately trying to get the attention of my teacher. And I was like yelling outside the door, like hoping she would open the door for me. And I'm like, why isn't she opening? And I know that she could hear me and she wasn't looking at me. And it was like, I was so confused and I was getting really frustrated. And she turns around and she goes, oh, for God's sake, Steph. She opens the door and she goes, were you calling for me? And I went, yeah. And she goes, you've been screaming mum for about 30 minutes. And I was like, it just made me, I was so embarrassed. I laughed so hard. Such a stupid memory, but yeah, shit like that makes you laugh when you're a kid, I guess. Yeah. What's your earliest memory of comedy?
It would be, well, I was a bit of a clown in primary school. I wasn't cool. So it was my way to be part of the cool kids. So I would be the one falling over or walking into things just to get a laugh. Yeah. I was
nice.
Yeah. And I changed that when I went to high school and I became the school leader.
Nice.
I just used that clown and the funny, like for my high school nominations for school leader, I sang a Backstreet Boys song so that people would elect me, like, everybody. Yeah. So I was just like singing to myself. And I elected. Yeah. The weirdest shit we'll do for power, really. But comedy is a powerful force. That's what I know.
Oh, 100%. 100%. I did this course one time that was explaining kind of the physiological response to humor. And this was one of those things again where, like, something you hear it and you go, that makes so much sense to me, that I almost started reverse engineering my jokes in a very different way. It's completely changed me as a comedian. And they were talking about, we're not entirely sure why people, there's different theories why people laugh, but what was really fascinating is that the response to fear and the response to humor are so similar. Like, if you laugh so hard, you piss yourself, right? You get so scared, you piss yourself. Like, you laugh so hard, you start sweating, you cry, all that sort of stuff. It's like, but even in the brain, I think in the amygdala, it's that similar sort of thing. And basically what humor is like, because we have this complex ability to sort of communicate in a way that doesn't have to make sense or something, like in this real way. It's that little moment where your brain is trying to figure out what's going to come next, right? It's entirely based on instinct and stuff like that. And this is a level of complexity of this communication. So it's like a moment where there's like an unanswered question. We start, like, our heart starts racing and we get this nervousness, and then it's the relief and the release of that is like so funny. But it has that same physiological reaction like fear, which I think is so cool.
That's great. That's really scientific.
Well, it's so fascinating, right? Because if you know that, that's why certain jokes will always work, because they cause tension. And if you can keep somebody super tense, like, and you can like release it, but then build it like, oh man, you can do cool shit. I love that stuff. I love having I get really, I don't know what you're like, but I love researching.
Oh, there you go. I was going to say, I get turned on by really good comedy. So you said research, I'm like turned on. Who does turn on your humor and comedy? Who inspires your comedy?
Oh, sorry about that. By inspires my comedy, do you mean like who I look up to, or do you mean
a person, a character, someone that's just you go, oh, I really want to tap that.
Yeah. 100% without a doubt, it's Kevin Crepinieri. He's my mentor. He's my, like, he was the first mentor that I ever had. I tell him this all the time, man. Like, he was the first person who ever, I don't know, just saw something in me, and like, just with this really authentic, genuine heart that he has kind of told me that I could do more with this. And I don't know, it was just such a good role model because not only was he like a not only was he a comedian who was great, but he was an Indigenous comedian who cared about the same things that I cared about. And I saw in him somebody to idolize and go, well, I want to change the world through humor. So like Andy Saunders, Sean Chulbra, Kevin Crepinieri, they're all my mentors. They're my brothers. They're my best mates. Like they're just incredible men. They really are.
I adore Kevin so much. I did a show, I produced a show called Deadly and Diverse here in Melbourne. He drove his son to come and be headliner of my show on the same. And then back, we just drank until 2 a.m. in the morning and just talked all night. And I value his friendship and his knowledge. And I see how he works the audience.
Yes.
He's done it for so long. He just knows how to hold them.
But you know what else is cool though? He's got this similar thing that like and because I don't think it's just as a comedian. I think as a man, I look up to him like as a human being because I think I've always felt like a really strange person or a bit of an outsider because like okay, so my previous manager when I actually worked a normal job instead of comedy said to me, you are both the most serious person and least serious person I've ever met at the same time. And I was like, no, it's so true because I will like switch between like these, you know, sort of concepts where I want to learn, like where I research and I'm like desperate for knowledge and stuff like that. Or I'll just be laughing at a fart noise, like, you know what I mean? And I think Kevin's quite similar. Like he has this real depth to him and this like spirituality and culture, like just that I can talk to him about culture, you know? Yeah.
Yeah. Oh, there we go. That's a big shout out and testimony for Kevin right there.
Absolutely. Biggest I can give.
And talking about, you know, Kevin, you and the team went to Edinburgh last year to do your show. How awesome and how important is it to tour as a comedian for you?
For me, do you know what? It's really hard to say. I think especially with that group, we have to keep on touring because I do truly believe that we're saying things that people haven't heard before, especially internationally. Like we're proud, we're out there, we like, you know, we talk with each other, we know what each other's talking about. We're all across the same page as far as politics in Australia, you know, like it's a story that hasn't been told internationally. As far as touring around Australia, it's important. I think the most important part for me touring as an artist, especially with Aboriginal Comedy All Stars, is that we get to perform for our mob, you know? I think oftentimes kind of how we create, and you probably find it as well being a POC, the way that we create, you have to always keep in mind an audience that doesn't represent you as a person necessarily. Do you know what I mean? And so when we tour, we get to go out to communities and just fucking tell a joke for them, like about our, you know, although it's also really difficult because you know, there are some places that you go to where they don't want to hear it. I did a gig once in I think it was Warwick in Queensland. And somebody said, oh, so what do you joke about? And I was like, oh, my Aboriginality. But he heard it wrong and he went, oh, yeah, go hard on them. We fucking hate them here. And I was like, no, you misheard me. Like,
wow.
Yeah. And it was like and then you have to step out on stage knowing that and going, how on earth do I deal with that? So I guess it's important just to stay out of an echo chamber as well, you know?
Yeah.
And just always have a breadth of experiences in life.
Yeah. Well, just before COVID locked us all down, I was doing the lineup show here in Melbourne, and just before I went on stage, because I was producing it and you know, I was doing everything. Anyway, before I even talk about that, I went around the tables to get people to come upstairs to watch the show, like buy tickets. And I had these 4 white guys just say, give us a COVID joke. Like, yeah, and it was so funny because a lot of Asians, particularly Chinese people, were being racially vilified because of this, and I had to go on stage feeling this shit, and I said to, like, when he made that joke, I said, no, thank you very much, and walked away, because that was all I could do in that capacity, knowing that I was going to go on stage soon. But yeah, it's crazy. It's crazy. It's a crazy world.
But it's also kind of important. Like, it's important. I mean, it's not. I don't know how to explain. Like, I think every time that we collect those experiences, it helps us explore it on stage. Do you know what I mean? And also, it helps us to remember that there's still a reason why we're doing it. I think, like, if you sit in your own little world where everyone loves you and knows you for you, and there is that kind of, you almost see beyond that when you're friends for a certain amount of time, you can forget just how sensitive and how difficult it can be to traverse the world when you're not the norm. And then when you're impacted with it again, I don't really know how to describe, but like, that always fills me with a passion to go, this is why I'm doing what I'm doing, and this is why this is going to be 10 times funnier, and why I'm going to write this, and why I need to deal with the fact that there are so many aspects of this job that I find difficult to deal with, and just push on. Yeah.
Oh, I hear you. And in speaking about pushing on, like, we are in a pandemic, and the comedy festival was cancelled, and I know that you were going to host the gala. So last week you had a spot, you were going to host, and I know that as artists we have had to find different ways to be creative. And I've been following you. You've been painting a lot.
Yeah, it's been so fun.
I've been colouring in books and putting makeup on my face as an artistry. How have you seek joy during this time, in the world that we're in now?
I think I'm super lucky because I find it really easy to laugh, but I find it much easier to laugh if my aim is to make others laugh. And so a big thing for me, I've been so lucky. Honestly, I think if I was isolated alone, I would be in a really bad state. But I've been lucky because I was like with my mum for a bit, and now I've like moved in with my boyfriend and my housemate, and I just make it my kind of goal to make them laugh. Do you know what I mean? Which makes me laugh because it's contagious. But other than that, right? Okay. I'm gonna this is such a fucked up story, but it's like, to me, this is the best story that I can explain what my family's like and why I have such a fucked up sense of humor. Just forever in my family, it's always the way to deal with anything is to laugh at it. Even the most serious stuff, like, we'll have an argument or a fight or something, we'll still be trying to make each other laugh at the time, right? But so this is sad. When my dad is such a strange man, but he's the best. Like, I love my dad to bits. Like, he's so, if I could explain how he is, he's like a eccentric genius, like a mad professor or something like that, right? And my mum has this really like dry sense of humor where like she'll get nothing and then she'll just come out with a zinger that just, and you're like, but my dad is really anxious like me, and I always have to really build this up because it's a fucked up story. But anyway, my nana was really sick, right? And we got the call, she's got a couple of hours left to live, so everyone come up to the hospital and all of that sort of stuff. So all of us grandkids were there. I wasn't that close with her, but like all of us were there, and kind of everyone who could be there was there, and it was this really kind of sad time. And she was about to go, and we could all feel that, and she eventually took her last breath, and she was pronounced dead. And there was this really weird feeling in the room because nobody's ever told you what to do in that situation. And so my dad, who I guess has always been the strong one who makes everyone laugh, panics, right? And he's standing there. I'm talking like less than 30 seconds after she's died.
Yeah.
And he just goes, "Oi, watch this. Do you reckon if I tickle her feet, she'll just wake up again?"
No.
He starts like tickling her feet, and then he's like, she's there slack jawed, you know, eyes open, and he's like, "Mum, you look like a fucking moron. Close your mouth."
No.
And like we all were like, "Dad, that is so inappropriate," but it was just so funny. Like it was so inappropriate, and just like that tension was so insane that it just everybody started laughing, which actually let us all then stop laughing and cry and process together. You know, we all had this big laugh and said, "I'm really sorry, Mum. We love you very much," and we all hugged, and it was like, yeah, I don't know, just but that's always that kind of reaction to serious pain or whatever is exactly how I deal with things. Yeah.
Bam. Bam. Oh God, that's such a great scene.
I know. I've got to write it into something, hey.
That's
Tickling
your
a dead
story. I
woman's
won't
foot.
take that story. But God,
If you're writing something, let's write it together.
we could about death. We could write about
Yeah.
death. We've got Daniel Putsney has written, "Steph, amazing explanation about using life experience to refine your ideas and the material, just like bands do when they play live and test audience reactions. Great interview. I love it. And so real. I feel the passion. I'm now a Steph fan on LinkedIn." Yay. Beautiful.
Thank you so much, Daniel. That's really nice.
Yeah. And just
Good
letting you know,
haircut. Sorry.
it's a good LinkedIn photo. That's it. Steph's doing reviews now. If anyone else wants to review, join on in. Wow, that's such an image. It's powerful. No, but it's so powerful about life and death, right?
Yeah.
Because
But
your grandmother was dead, but your dad was in the living, and he tried to, I don't know, he just tried to cut them together.
I know it's bizarre. Like it was really strange, but also like there was just this moment, I reckon, of like 30 seconds after she passed away where nobody knows what to do. You don't know whether to stand, sit, look at each other, cry, leave. You know what I mean? And he just like sort of felt this tension in the room. And that's the thing, I recognized with him that comedy was such a generous, like it's such a generosity, because he was giving that moment like for all of us, you know what I mean? Like that was to break the tension and for all of us to have just a moment out of that awkwardness or that moment in like, oh, what do I do, where he's taking control and let us feel something. I don't know. I always thought that was a very generous thing that he did.
Yeah. Wow. Magic. That's just magic.
Would have been more magic if she woke up.
Ta-da! Imagine what he really did wake her up, and that's another story. We've talked about diversity in comedy, and we've talked about ticking the boxes.
Yeah.
What else so I'm talking about more future in comedy. How can we keep fostering this and, you know, move the boundary and the line so that it becomes more of an inclusive instead of exclusive?
Yeah. I just reckon that people need to be okay with hearing stories that aren't their own. Like, I think that's what's happening. I think that's the biggest shift. I think for a really long time, we wanted comedy or stories that kind of kept us in the, you know, whoever the powerful kept them in the position of power, and told a story that was super relatable. And I actually think that something's sort of changing where, you know, like obviously surreal comedy was quite big for a while and all that sort of stuff, and it kind of changes the boundaries of what comedy is. But I also think that we've sort of gotten to a point where it's like, oh, well, like, you know, the relatability is the human aspect, not the situation aspect. So like every single time that I hear a joke about, oh, me wife, oh, I'm like, oh, for fuck's sake, you know what I mean? Like, tell a different story. Like I've heard it so much. It's not relatable to me. It's not relatable to my sensibilities. This is literally just for the powerful to justify, And then I spoke to I don't know if you know Janet McLeod, but she's a producer and she's great. And she had this line. She said to me, she went, I just think people are sick of hearing, middle-aged white men noticing shit.
Yeah.
And it's true. And also, like, you get an opportunity to change the perspective and the lens. Do you know what I mean? Like, the way that I view the world is going to be so different to the way that you view the world. Like, there are so many, because what's your heritage? Was it Chinese, did you say? Vietnamese.
Yeah.
So seriously, even just think about it like this, right? 3 generations or less than 3 generations, your generational history absolutely dictates your genetics. You know what I mean? Like who you are as a person. And that means that you're going to view the world with this particular lens. The fact that, like, a couple of generations ago, my people just down to this really small thing, like as far as like so what I'm looking for, like landscape, right? My people are from the rainforest, and it's like that means that we grow a certain way, like that means that we're more short and squat, or we lean towards like more fruits than whatever. Whereas, coastal mob, they're real tall and skinny because it's like swimming and all of that sort of thing. It's like all of those things, the fact that, the Vietnam War, like all of those things that truly like change how you are and how you view the world. That's way more fucking interesting than noticing shit around you. Do you know what I mean? Like noticing shit, I couldn't give a fuck. But if you've got a story, or if you tell a story that somebody else could tell, but you just have this particular way of looking at it, like fuck yeah, the relatability is in the human aspect of that, and that's the cool bit,
Well, I think that's what I love about and if people are watching this and you just go back to the beginning of the video of the interview with Steph with her set, when you made a joke about Avo.
Yeah.
Everyone clicked because everyone knows what that also means when you get it wrong.
Yeah.
You never want to get that wrong, but you hit it so hard, and you just kept nailing it and killing it, and you just like don't fuck with me.
But I also think it's probably one of those things where like every time I hear smashed avo or like avo instead of avocado, I'm ready. Do you know, like, because I'm so fine-tuned to hearing that word, and I've heard that word, and that's a painful word. But other people probably just hear avo and don't have that association. And when you remind them of that association, it's got a deeper meaning.
It does. Everyone who's now will see a smashed avo, like their brain. That's Steph's joke. Yeah. Killer. I watched it before this interview, and I was like, oh, so good. It's so good.
Thank you.
So for people who are on LinkedIn and watching, a lot of people are curious how to use comedy in their storytelling. So a lot of people are speakers, they do presenting a lot, but comedy is hard to find for people who aren't in comedy or comedians. What would be your tip for someone who wanted to put comedy into their work?
I would say that they should isolate where tension needs to be built. And when it comes to like, even if you just think about like a sales pitch or something like that, if you can build tension, you can build that need. And if you can give somebody that relief, you know what I mean? Like they want to say yes. You know how it's about the 3 yeses or whatever. If you can isolate where that tension would best be built, if you can kind of fit humor in around there and know that you can play with that tension and kind of mix that tension around, I think that's where to do it. So even if it would be like even something silly of like, you without this product is like a blah, blah, blah without a blah, blah, blah. Like a really stupid simile, something that's super similar, like super simple, but that kind of has that, make somebody laugh for a second, because just and it's all that psychological, that really psychological subtle shit about, tension and whatever. But I think it also is really engaging because I'll tell you, I've done some Zoom meetings, man. I just go, look, I don't want to be an asshole, but I've got my screen turned off and I'm on mute and I'm not even in the same room because I'm not engaged whatsoever. Because I just couldn't be bothered to see you reading off a sheet of paper. Like I've got no time for that.
Yeah.
Like another big part of comedy, right, is just the reason why we laugh. We don't really laugh on our own. That's like a thing that people have found too. Like it's very rarely that we'll laugh out loud on our own. We laugh with people. It's basically just a big old smile audibly. It's a way to show camaraderie or something like that. So if you're doing like a presentation or something like that, take the time to research the place that you're at, make an observation about somebody within the organization, all of those sorts of things that make it personal, that make people want to listen because they're like, oh, this person knows this thing, therefore this isn't just some guy standing on a stage going, and if we want to lift sales, then like, you know what I mean? Like, I don't care. But if there's something that's more relatable, that's a big part of, I'd be looking for humor in those places too.
Love it. Ahmed's just great analogy, Steph. It's all about creating tension and then relieving them of that tension, like the sales process.
Yeah.
Great.
Yeah.
Thanks, Ahmed.
Thank you.
And
you have a good haircut too.
Everyone else want their review for their haircut today.
Write in and I can tell you what I think of your haircut.
Do you have a LinkedIn profile at all?
Yeah, I do. I don't know what I've got on there.
All right, well, I'll tag you in it. So I
do want to do more work on it at the moment, actually, because I'm really interested in changing how I perform. No, I'm just, because I can't perform on stage anymore, I'm like, I just want to do interesting stuff. Like I got back on man, this is so weird. I got on this there's a site called Star Now, and it's like auditions and extras acting and stuff like that. And I was like, fuck yeah, I'll just want to do something that isn't sitting in my house. Do you know what I mean? So I'm doing stuff on LinkedIn again because I just think it's a really different kind of discussion, and yeah. So yes, I have a LinkedIn. That's all I meant to say. Oh, you're frozen. Where are you?
Look for an agent. Just tell them.
What? You're frozen. I'm sorry.
Am I frozen? Ow, am I back?
You're back.
Okay, good. Yeah, something
slow motion
happened. I had a glitch thing. Oh, am I? Damn it. Oh, no. I think we've cracked it. Can you hear me?
Yeah, I can hear you fine.
Okay, don't worry about it. We'll just keep talking.
No,
I know you recently got Screen Australia funding for a new project. What's happening? What are you doing? Where's the money coming from?
I don't know, man. This was so weird. I got this random phone call. And I'm the worst for this. I'm really badly, like, I'm very disorganized. And so I'll get excited about something but have no concept of timelines. Like I'm really bad with stuff like that. I'm an ideas person. I really struggle with organization. Anyway, I get this call from this woman. She says, "Hey, I'm a writer and producer. Weird call, but I saw your set about Aboriginal porn, and I just think it's a brilliant concept." She said, "I actually think that this could be a really cool like TV show if you've ever thought about it." And I was like, I mean, I guess. And she's like, "Well, yeah, I'm a producer and we're actually looking at getting some funding and stuff like that, but I don't want to do it without your permission or if you're not interested." I said, "Yeah, I'd love to be a writer." And, obviously there's, things like intellectual property and all that sort of shit. And I was like, "But yeah, I actually would love to do that," because the joke, just for context, the joke is basically, the punchline of the joke is like that everybody's equal in porn. Like there's no, you know, you can't be top dog in, I don't know. But how can we still be missing representation for Aboriginal people in porn? And just there's something kind of fucked about the fact that, like, if we can't be objectified, like, how low are we on I don't know. It's a concept that I think is true, and basically talks about just how much we lack representation. But we did this we basically had a chat about it, and I went, yeah, it'd be really cool to do like the background story of that, like what would happen, what are all the moral dilemmas and like the production side of things, without ever actually talking about the porn, and like without ever shooting it or anything like that, just like all of the stuff that would go into it, and the idea, like trying to create porn for like a noble purpose almost. I just thought it was a really funny concept. So we got Bush Tucker Bungie on board, who is so funny, and you should definitely check him out. He's a Palm Island fella, really, really, really funny. And we paired up with these people, and unbeknownst to me, like, it wasn't just a thing that I chatted about one time. We got some funding for it, and we're going to kind of shoot a sort of like a short film, basically following the escalation from these two fellas needing money to, oh my God, porn would be a good thing to do. Yeah.
Love it. I love the new journey. We all need to do porno.
It's also kind of based off this really awkward story where when I was online dating, there was this guy who was like, man, would you be interested in sending me a picture of your boobs? And I was like, no. And then he said, I'll send you $1,000. And I was really broke. I was living out of my car at the time. And I called my mum and I went, Mum, can you believe people do this? Meanwhile, I'd borrowed some money off my mum a couple of days before, and she said to me, somebody's offering you $1,000. You better fucking take it, because I'm not lending you any more money. And I was like, fair enough. And I sent him a picture because I had mum's approval. It turned out it was a scam. It was
Oh no, I'm so sorry. That would have been a good
funny story.
You would have got more money than doing a lineup show.
Exactly. That's what I thought was so funny about it. I was like, man, I'll send a picture of my tits for $1,000. No, I wouldn't. I'm sorry. Please don't. No. I didn't want that to be heard. It's not true. It's not true.
Well, Ahmed with the good haircut has asked you a question. What does confidence mean to you? Does it mean taking a photo of your boobs? And
I think the biggest show of confidence is taking responsibility.
Oof. Oh, oof.
Well, that was a good answer. You're right. I think it has to be. I think that's because it's confidence in so many things. If you can take responsibility for something and recognize that it needs to change, then you're confident about your ability to change. You're confident about, moving forward. You're confident that you should be taking responsibility. Yeah, I think there's
Oh, so beautiful. That's. I'll just cut that video out and just say, everyone watch this. Steph, thank you so much for being part of the show. You've been
Thank you.
If you want to check out Steph's work, just check her out and just click on the tags. And one thing that I've learnt today is that confidence is taking responsibility. That was pretty powerful to end the show on. Thank you.
I'm going to use that again. Sorry, it just came out of my face, but I might use it again. No, thank you so much, Diana. I really hope that anybody who's watching this recognizes that you are so different to a lot of people in our industry, and what you are doing is huge. Like, you are the sort of person who, if somebody said, who would you like to have on your team to make XYZ happen, I'd be like, obviously Diana, because no matter what, it's going to work, because you have that right drive and that right passion. I'm just blown away by you. So thank you so much for having me. Really appreciate it. What?
No.
You
Thank
cut
you
out.
so much. And team, if you're watching, please go and support Steph's work. She's on YouTube. Just pop her on YouTube and keep laughing with her. And then, oh no, it's all good. There we go. And thank you for joining the Snort. Thanks for joining the show. We'll see you all
Yeah, baby. Yeah.